Oh boy, we are still talking about Bayonetta 3 and Hellena Taylor and this whole messy voice acting pay scenario. And I have to admit, I didn't really know initially if I was going to make this video and kind of continue this conversation. When I woke up this morning and saw that she commented about everything that Platinum said through the Bloomberg article, and she made a bunch of tweets about it, and she basically admitted that what was said in that article is correct and that she was not being truthful from the get-go, which is definitely interesting and eyebrow-raising, and everyone is paying attention to it and making videos. And so I woke up to that this morning, and I was like, man, this is just stupid and messy and ugly, and like she just got herself in so much trouble, and everyone's piling on her, and I'm unhappy with her, but I don't really feel like I want to add too much to it. Initially, I thought about not making another conversation, but I realized I already made 2 videos about this initially, covering the first step to the second step, and now what could hopefully be the last step. I think it's fair that I at least continue to discuss it with yet another new development. So again, I'm going to respect your time by not giving you the backstory, because I know if you're watching this video, just like with my first video and my second video, you already know the details and you know about her videos and the claims and then what Platinum said through Bloomberg's article and all the back and forth and everything that led us to here, right? You guys already know this stuff. I haven't covered a story like this in a long time, where there's been so much information over a short window of time, and I've just by mere chance happened to have either been home working that day so that I could make a video on lunch, or today just happened to not be working so that I can actually just make a video pretty quickly and stay pretty on top of it. I haven't been able to do that in a long time because, again, as a lot of you know, I don't do this for a living. YouTube is just a fun side gig for me. I just do this for fun. I do not do this for a job or for the money. And so anyway, you know the backstory, so I'm going to read through her tweets. She made several tweets, not videos, this morning. Actually, I guess this would have been last night for United States time. She would have made these tweets, and I'll read these, and then we'll just kind of discuss where we suddenly find ourselves. It has come to my attention that some people are calling me a liar and a gold digger. I feel the need to defend myself and my reputation in the industry. See thread. As I posted on my 3-part video thread, I explained that their first offer was too low. That offer was $10,000 total. Remember, this is a $450 million franchise, not counting merchandise. I then wrote in Japanese to Hideki Kamiya, asking for what I was worth. I thought that as a creative, he would understand. He replied saying how much he valued my contribution to the game and how much the fans wanted me to voice the game. I was then offered an extra $5,000 for a total of $15,000. So I declined to voice the game. I then heard nothing from them for 11 months. They then offered me a flat fee to voice some lines for $4,000. Any other lies, such as $4,000 for 5 sessions, are total fabrications. There were not extensive negotiations. I've also been informed of ridiculous fictions, such as I asked for $250,000. I am a team player. I was just asking for a fair living wage in line with the value that I bring to the game. I was paid a shockingly low total of £3,000 for the first game, a little more for the second game. I wanted to voice her. I have drummed up interest in this game ever since I started on Twitter in 2011. So, wow, there is a shocking amount to unpack in all of those tweets, by the way. So I'm going to kind of scroll through them myself here and remind myself of some of these beats that I want to touch on, given everything she said in that. I think that was, 6 tweets? 5 or 6 tweets? So I think it's interesting that she started off saying that she wanted to defend herself and her reputation. Wanting to defend her reputation is interesting because we know that her reputation kind of has been damaged. But I also think it shows somebody who maybe really cares about what they did, and maybe she just realized the mistake of what she did. So I found that to be an interesting way to phrase it. And I think that's human nature to want to do, so I understand that. So here's where she goes on to explain the numbers. Now, I want to point out, she said, remember, this is a $450 million franchise. I could be wrong, but I watched a lot of my fellow creators and a lot of conversation talk about this when it was brand new, and I feel like I was one of the only people that mentioned that $450 million didn't sound accurate. Eventually, that conversation picked up and more people talked about it in subsequent videos and whatnot. So it's good that we realized that. But I immediately remembered keying into that when I watched those videos the very first day this all went down. And I know that I discussed it in my video that I don't think this franchise, which is a popular and successful franchise and one of my all-time favorites, by the way, personally, I was like, I don't think it's made $450 million. There's no way. And a lot of people then went on to point out that there's no way that it has, and she's doubling down. She's still saying $450 million, not even counting merchandise. I don't know how that's true. It is what it is. She's a little all over the place with what she says, so I'm a little bit worried she's maybe not mentally in the best place. So even though she's kind of created a lot of this drama herself from her own misrepresentations, we'll say, I'm also kind of concerned for her mental state. I don't know, and I don't want to speak out of line. I could be wrong. It just doesn't feel right to me. So I just hope she's okay in that respect, even though she's caused the rest of the drama herself. So she said the $450 million. I don't think anyone thinks that's true. So she said, so basically she says the first offer was $10,000. And that's when she said she wrote to Kamiya and that he was nice to her, and apparently they then offered her an additional 5, which means a total of 15. So this is where things get a little bit crazy, because in her videos, it's very obvious that she was purposefully vague and unclear and omitted specific details to make it sound as if she was only ever offered $4,000 for the entire role. And that is clearly not the case. She worded it very cleverly so that she also didn't technically lie either. The way she said, it was then that I was offered $4,000, which I thought was weird when I heard it, but I was like, maybe she's just confusing things. Yeah, and so I didn't really know what she was saying, but she definitely didn't ever explain or reference the $15,000, which is what the Bloomberg article and those people who were unidentified did claim. And although we didn't know necessarily what to believe at the time, it definitely felt like that was accurate. And now we know, because she's finally, the pressure is on. She can't deny it. And so she was offered $10,000. She wrote the letter and said, and they said, we'll pay you 15 instead of 10. So they did negotiate with her a little bit. And again, I'm not the barometer for what's appropriate to pay somebody, but I think going from 3,000 pounds to 4,000 pounds to 15,000 US dollars, which I know those numbers are semi close to each other, that's a good jump from Bayonetta 2 to Bayonetta 3, going from 4,000 to 15,000, approximate, given on whichever currency you're choosing. That's pretty good. And so she left that out in her first video. She never mentioned that she was offered an initial sum that she turned down. She made it sound, through clever wording, that $4,000 was what she was always offered and that was what she turned down. And I stand by my original statement where if that was what she was offered for the whole role, it would have been an insulting offer. That part would have been true. What's turned out is that she wasn't being honest and she was omitting things to make it sound better for her situation. So she goes on to say she declined the voice to voice the game. She heard nothing from them for almost a year. And here's where they say they offered her a flat fee of $4,000 to voice some other lines as a cameo. And so that explains how she weaseled the $4,000 number into her original video claims while omitting the truth that the Bloomberg article was eventually able to uncover. So boy, was it messy. Now, here's something else she says. Keep in mind, I was never happy with her calling for a boycott. I was never going to boycott. I said that from my first video. I said that on Twitter. I had no reason to boycott this game. Even when I thought she was lowballed at $4,000 and I wanted to defend her right to be owed more money, I was never going to boycott. This wasn't that extreme of a scenario. And I didn't like that she tried to put that guilt trip on people. And I went in on her hard for coming after Jennifer Hale. That was something else I didn't see enough people do right away. But eventually, to everyone's credit, more people realized that was a super not okay thing for her to do. So she was making mistakes from the get-go, right? But the $4,000 thing was definitely the messy thing that most of us believed, because why would we have thought she would have made it up in the beginning? So I saw her doing 50-50 good and bad initially, and now she clearly was just not being truthful at all. So then she goes on to say, man, I don't like how she says this stuff. She says any other lies, such as $4,000 for 5 sessions, are total fabrications. is she's basically shirking the onus she has that she made it sound as if $4,000 was the total for the 5 sessions. And how dare the fans who were defending her. Now she's trying to make all of the fans who went out there defending her, there were so many people just outright defending her, and they were choosing to boycott, and they were all mad and up in arms. And again, I was mad at Nintendo and Platinum in defense of the lowball, but I was mad at her for the other things I think she did wrong. But plenty of other people were complete defense force for her and were boycotting the game per her instructions. And she's almost making it sound like those people are the ones guilty of lying about $4,000 for 5 sessions. No, lady. You technically did that yourself. I don't want to go in too hard because I do think she's in a weird place mentally. But man, I just don't like that she threw that in there, because it's like she's just getting mad at the people who were basically defending her for touting the propaganda that she basically wanted everyone to believe. And many people, including me, believed it. I did believe she was offered only $4,000 for the role initially. I believed what she said about the numbers in those first videos. So I don't like that. She goes on to say there were no extensive negotiations. And then she does another, I think, a last kind of big lie, I want to say, where she says, I have also been informed of the ridiculous fiction such as I asked for $250,000. Well, here's the thing. I feel like we can trust the Bloomberg article completely now, and they never said $250,000. The number going around out there by people was like $100,000. They said 6 figures, or they said $100,000. $250,000 is so extreme that I feel like she's throwing that out there to make it seem as if she would never ask for that much money. Maybe the $100,000 is accurate. And that is a maybe. I'm not going to make any claims, because this whole story has taught everyone making claims and trusting claims is dangerous territory. That's why in my second video, I said I believe the Bloomberg article, but I'm not going to tell anyone what to believe, and we should know that nothing is still fact. We just have 2 opposing sides of the story. Because the whole lesson here should be don't just believe anything. Hell, for all we know, she's even lying again. I don't freaking know. This is just what we have to go on, right? So this is just me theorizing. Don't run with this. Maybe the $100,000 that was reported is true, and she's learned that that was super not okay, so she's jumping to a further extreme, saying the $250,000 that nobody I saw talked about. She's the first person I've seen say $250,000. She throws that out there so that she can feel less guilty about maybe the $100,000 that she was asking for, if that's true. And so it just maybe softens the blow of whatever she was guilty of doing. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but in my brain, I just read it that way, and I don't like that she says that. The whole thing is very strange to me. She wanted a living wage, which I agree with. Voice actors should get paid more. I 100% agree with that. And so she said she was paid the low total of $3,000, then more for the second. And then she said, I've drummed up interest in this game ever since I started on Twitter in 2011. So I don't really know how that fits into it, because Bayonetta 2 came out in 2014. She's been drumming up interest in this game since 2011. She might just mean the franchise. When she says game, I thought maybe she meant Bayonetta 3. I'm realizing she probably just means she's been championing further games in the Bayonetta series because she voices the character and clearly liked voicing the character. Maybe that's what she meant. So I'm going to assume that that was just that's a misinterpretation and not the word she meant. Maybe she just means the Bayonetta franchise. And so where are we now with this whole thing? Well, I would like to just put this behind us all. Like I said, I wasn't going to make this video, even though I know it's easy views, because it's such a juicy topic and everyone's covered it and everyone's watching videos on it. And my first 2 videos performed very well for my channel average as well. And so I know it's, it's going to get good views. And so there is that, but I really wasn't going to make a video because I was like, I don't even want to get into this messy stuff. Like, it looks worse for her now than ever before. She basically confirmed the Bloomberg article. She admitted that she omitted certain details and certain numbers to make it sound like something else was true that wasn't really true. And I didn't want to dogpile on the whole situation or even her, despite the fact that she got herself into this mess. And I just want to play the frickin' game, man. I'm just here for Bayonetta 3 as a video game experience. This stuff is crazy, but I felt like, I had a small obligation, even though I'm not a full-time YouTuber, and I'm not even like a news breaking guy. You guys know I don't really do news per se. I maybe talk about news stories, but I don't cover and present news as news, I don't think. But I was like, I feel like I have an obligation. I covered the first two details as those stories broke. I'm not working today. Like I said, I had the time to make this video immediately once I woke up and saw this information. So I felt it was the right thing to do so I can continue to cover each change in the story. Something that I said in the second video that I think most people agreed with, but a few people pushed back on, which I found really depressing and disappointing, is how I said, people who were going to boycott initially and then changed their minds after the Bloomberg article came out. Keep in mind, I was never going to boycott the game, and I never told anyone to boycott the game because I thought that was stupid from the jump. But a lot of people were choosing to, and I was like, new information has come out, the story is changing, and I know people want to instead hold this grudge and hold these pitchforks like, you should now learn to never trust anything until you know every side of every story. And it's like, it's not that that's wrong, but that's not how things work. And it is what it is. Just everyone get off their freaking high horse about it. Like, it just is what it is. This story is messy. It is complicated. There's a lot of big emotions everyone has on every side and angle of this story. From the first moment to the second moment to this third moment. And it's like, more has been uncovered. So just let people change their opinions and viewpoints and update their feelings as new information is emerging. Everyone is so intent on always asking for blood from everyone at every turn just because they can. Because if you chose not to boycott, you can get mad at the people who did choose to boycott, so you can, hold it over them that they were wrong initially? Like, that's Karen energy, man. That's what that says to me. That's Karen energy. I feel like I can have control over people and make them feel guilty for something I'm not guilty of, so I want to get mad about it and I want to ask for blood at every turn. All I ask for, again, I didn't boycott, but I wasn't mad at the people who did choose to boycott. All I'm asking for is just allow an organic situation to unfold, and I just want people to update their viewpoints and opinions accordingly based on new information as it comes out. If you stick your feet in the ground and you don't listen to the new information and you go like this and you say, nah, I'm right because I want to be right, and you're not allowing the new information to inform your opinions and your viewpoints, that's the problem to me. But the people who chose to boycott initially and then said, whoa, it looks like this was wrong, I was wrong, I'm not going to boycott now, that's all I cared about. It's like, okay, you allowed new information to color your opinions appropriately. Good for you. That's the human experience. And a lot of people liked that I said that in my second video, and a couple of people were like, I can't agree with that. We should hold their feet to the fire. Everyone should just, I don't want to get into hyperbole, but some people were so mad, these people should still be held accountable. Held accountable for what, dude? We're all just people who buy video games with money and play them. We're not making the games. We're not in the gaming industry. No one needs to be held accountable for just boycotting or not boycotting a game. Just let the details come out and let people make their own decisions. So that's the kind of person I am, okay? I'm not someone who's out here holding internet grudges based on stupid stuff like this. It's an interesting, dramatic, juicy, messy story to talk about. So forming opinions is normal. I have opinions. You've heard them along the way. But I don't need to crucify people over this. And I just don't think other people do either. So that's my soapbox moment. I probably almost regret even going into that at this point now, but it's just how I feel. And so I just want to point out that I stand by what I said, that I don't need to hold people accountable for choosing to boycott and then changing their minds once new information came out. So that's what I feel about that. And so going back to this situation, it sucks. And I will say, I am a little bit worried Hellena Taylor's not in the best place. I don't wish ill on her, of course. I hope she's mentally okay. If she is mentally okay, I think that she just couldn't let go of this situation. And everyone was dogpiling on her and all these videos. I mean, I've made videos. This is my third one, it's the kind of thing where who knows how the average person reacts to being thrust into the spotlight in such a way. Now, she did it to herself. She made those videos. She left out details. She wasn't entirely truthful. She went after Jennifer Hale. She asked for an inappropriate boycott. She definitely created the scenario, especially now that we know through Bloomberg's article and now her confirmation that she was offered more money. Again, I don't work in the industry. $15,000 seems like a good amount of money for one game that you spend maybe a week or two recording lines for, and that's a lot of money. You know, I mean, everyone has a different value of money, but like I just feel like that sounds like an appropriate dollar amount for that kind of a work. Obviously, the SAG-AFTRA union should do better to fight for better pay. Voice actors in general need to get paid more. We all know that, and that's been true ever since this broke. But I just found this whole thing messy, and it's unfortunate. I hope she's mentally healthy. I hope she moves past it. She did this to herself. It sucks what we saw happen, but more people are going to play Bayonetta 3 now. That's what I'm most excited for, and so that's what I think. Let's put this behind us and just look forward to the game.